I'm Dennis Lutto, the project director for the Victoria Park Adventure Playground this summer. So what is an adventure playground? It's basically a concept where children can learn to manipulate and create their own environment. Using hand tools, basic things like saws and hammers, and materials scrounged from local industry, wood, plywood, scrap metal from the junkyard. Any place where you can get your hands on it. There's a lot of material that is available that industry is not using, to which we put it to very good use. An adventure playground is fairly different from your standard playground of swings and slides, which are a single-purpose situation where children cannot have anything to say about how they are controlled or how they are designed. And even recently, the new creative type playgrounds, which you have seen coming on the scene in various playgrounds, where there's a multi-purpose aspect involved to them, but still they're adult designed and adult oriented, and also fit very well into the adult world of orderliness and neatness, and very efficient too. Adventure junk playgrounds are neither orderly or efficient. The history of them is fairly recent. In the last 30 years they came about. They actually began during the Second World War in Europe, when the children were seen exploring bombed-out craters and that, and when they came to straighten them out or clean them up, they realized that here is a natural situation for children who were doing what they normally would do. And so they simply put fences around them, and there became your first adventure playgrounds. The question often asked by parents is, won't it be dangerous for children to be there with such chaos around them? Well, that is where the play leader comes in. No adventure playground will work satisfactorily without supervisors. The main function of the supervisor, whether man or woman, is not to organize and run programs, but to listen, guide, and help. In short, to enable, and see the children do not hurt themselves or each other. Apart from precautions necessary against injury, there are no formal rules on the playground. But with a good supervisor, most of the children using it, especially the regulars, will become attached to the playground as theirs, and so will accept an unwritten code of social behavior. The relationship between the play leader and each individual child is of great importance. He must know when to help a child and when to withdraw, so that the child can work out the problem alone and learn confidence through unaided achievement. The supervisor will try unobtrusively to get children involved in as many ways as possible. Some children take a while to adapt to such freedom. They're not used to it. They're often in a situation where they're told what to do, what not to do. You can't go here, you can't go there. And yet, in an adventure junk playground, here is a golden opportunity to try out things. Children seem to enjoy a small element of danger in their lives, to allow them to stretch their imagination, to be able to reach out and do things they perhaps would not normally do. With the supplies and tools available, it makes it very conducive to find new avenues of exploring and to build new things. In our adult world, the adults often ask, "Isn't that dangerous?" And yet, statistics prove that adventure junk playgrounds have less accidents than conventional playgrounds, which is something to consider. But accidents will happen, usually minor ones, and yet, oddly enough, accidents do not deter from the enthusiasm of the children. But just in case there are minor things, like slivers and cuts, there's always a supervisor around with this trusty first aid kit, in which children go to inspect it, look at it, and make sure everything is just fine. Did you have any trouble from the boys?
Yeah. Well, yeah. He would have.
What kind of trouble?
I'm not telling.
They kept saying that we were beautiful and everything.
Are you?
I don't know.
I don't know.
What did you do there?
We built forts and stuff and put carpeting in our
We
forts.
built something like a little tree fort.
I also built a bench, but somebody broke it.
What do you think children, they're probably older children, would want to vandalize something like that?
They don't have nothing to do, and they don't want to. They probably don't live with their parents or something, and so they just want to go around and wreck something up, and they don't want to go into the Venture Playground just in case somebody's in there that knows them or something.
At night, teenage people, they usually go around breaking things down as a joke. They think it's funny.
That maybe you could sit better up there. Put a board. See that where that branch goes like that over there? Put something across here over there.
Yeah, this would probably go the whole thing is there.
But it won't sit very flat.
Yeah. Then you gotta take that one out.
Nail it.
And then that one needs to be off somehow. You got one.
No, over by the pavilion there.
Here, then when I take this off. There. Now it will lay flat.
That's got nails in it. So.
In here?
That board took off those nails. Just take them out. Get your hammer.
Oh, 2 hammers.
Okay.
There.
Pull them out.
The screws. Over it and make a little hole in the board for the screw. The board, and you sit on there and it goes into the hole. Here's a nail.
Okay, put up there with the hammer.
Yeah, but then you could make a cover over it or something. Now we gotta put this piece up.
Take this one up first then.
That one.
Yeah. Run up there and I'll hand it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna make me can't see. Now this one goes across between where you are and over there?
Over to there?
Yeah. There isn't much room up there. Alright. Now, can you grab that?
Is it fun to use tools?
Yeah, because we hardly ever get to use stuff here at home because there's not much things to make because there's not many boards and that. And nobody wants to cooperate. Or else if they do, we don't know what to make. There's not enough trees around, and the trees around here don't have good branches, so you can't get up to them easily.
What did you like the best about the junk playground?
Well, we like the supervisor. It's
We like
fun.
Al. He was funny. and I thought it was fun putting all the carpet and nailing it all in and stapling it in. I thought that was fun.
I also like the boys for it, Adam and Todd and all the other boys for it that are up in the other tree.
I like the carpet that Adam and Todd had on there. The floor that was down the ground that was really soft. I had sponge underneath it, and it was really soft.
What were you doing behind the big sign there?
I was sort of trying to get the paint off, and so the brush wouldn't, so I could put in the paint can and get more paint, and so there wouldn't be some paint on, and I did it on the tree also to get the paint off.
This was where it began, in a forgotten corner of the park. Its only use was a dumping ground for brush cuttings and leftover gravel and sod. And of course, passers-by added their contributions of bottles and cans. The cost calculations were made, and with a grant from the Ministry of Culture and Recreation, everything was go. So where to start? The fencing was provided by the city. Rink boards and stakes sitting idle for the summer were dropped off at the site, the refuse removed, and then the building began. Supplies were scrounged from lumber yards and industry, delivered to the site, and the city's first junk playground was open for business.
Because the playground is a pilot type of project, this summer we're trying to keep a rough diary on the daily activities. I would write down, for instance, the number of children each day, if they are new at the playground, what, if any, kind of project they're working on, and any special interaction between us that happens. Already what happened on the first few days has been forgotten. There's been a lot of change at the place since the time when everybody made peep-out signs for their forts to now, when all that wood has long been used for a bench or a chair. Some days when the weather is lousy, few kids come. But as soon as it gets nice out, somebody almost always shows up. Hopefully all this, the journal and other things, will help in evaluating the project when it's over at the end of the summer.
It's better than the creative playground because there's no creativeness.
What do you mean?
Like, people build it for you and you don't have any, all you do is go there and play on it, but in the Adventure Junk Playground you got the fun of making it and designing it. It can be your own, like down there you have no privacy, you can come up there and build your own fort and have your own fort. But you can't own the whole park, so.
Have you done much down there at all, Derek?
Yeah, a bit. Not that much.
What part did you work on?
At the carpeting, yeah, mostly.
Where'd you get the carpeting from?
My house and Adam and Todd, they went up and got some from the carpeting place.
Did they give it to you?
No, we went and got it out of the back garbage can.
Ripped it off.
Was there, what about the tools that were supplied? Were there some things that could have been more of, or?
I wish they would have bought a broom, a proper broom. Yeah. Because, see, some guys took some dirt and put it up on our carpet. We had to clean it out.
With help of a carpet cleaner.
Yeah, he brought over his carpet cleaner.
What were the best materials that you made most use of this summer?
2x4s.
Carpet? By
the most,
carpets?
Well, no, the most thing we used, the thing we liked the most was the carpet, but the most useful thing was
wooden beams. The wooden beams, like the 2x4s and the 2x6s.
I have 2x4x8s.
And the 2x2s and 2x1s and 3x4s and all that. 8x6s.
How did you find this kind of playground experience as compared to the ones you've had before, Al?
I've worked at other camps, and never a day camp setting, but I think the closeness to the home for younger kids and different things, so that they can come and go, and that they can do their own thing, basically, that they're on their own for most of the day with very little help or guidance. I don't think I'd be very happy at a normal type of playground where you have to play the games with them. Instead, this has worked out a lot better. Over the summer, I think I've seen, for sure, more guys than girls. But as time has gone on, there's been a lot more girls come in and establish themselves in different corners of the playground, start building their own forts. And I think they're at the end now, they're having a lot better time. If you're wondering what they're smashing up there, it's an old calculator that has a little bit of a story to it. We found it one day on our scrounging around town. We hesitated to throw it in, but then what the heck, we'll bring it along and see what happens to it. So we brought it back to the playground, and it sat there for the longest time. Nothing really happened with it until all of a sudden one day somebody discovered it, hauled it out of the pile of wood, started taking the hammer to it, and then others joined in, and then others joined in, until finally there was a half dozen kids all lining up for a chance to smash this old calculator. I was amazed at the amount of time this old calculator could occupy the kids.
Well, what amazed me, Al, is it never came apart. It just stayed together.
Right? They pulled the springs off it. They threw rocks at it. They did everything to it, and it just kept being crunched. Never really fell apart. And then there was a big scramble for all the numbers that were coming off of it.
This is Wayne Hussey, who's the program supervisor for the central area of the city. Wayne, what is your response to the Adventure Junk concept now that you've seen it in operation for several weeks?
I think overall everybody's really pleased and extremely surprised that things have gone as smoothly as they have. As I have said earlier, none of us were really sure exactly what was going to happen or what it would look like. We know it's worked well in England and some other European countries, but I think overall we're all very pleased with the pilot project here this year. Extremely
Have
pleased.
you had any parents' concerns expressed to you at all?
I think initially a lot of parents, when they were registering for the program, wanted to know a little bit more about it. Specifically, why isn't there a laid-out, timed, pre-planned program for the kids to follow from? And I think once we explained to them that this was the kids' place, and it's their place to play and determine what was going to happen, I think they realized that it was a good alternative, something a little bit different, and I think they find it a very satisfying concept as well.
What value do you see in this concept for the community at large?
Well, I think it's a super opportunity to take a look at it on a smaller scale. Personally, I would like to see this kind of thing incorporated in a lot of other communities, and I suspect it will. It'll take a little time, especially to make them bigger and provide more materials. But I think many communities will want to take a look at this as an alternative to the traditional pre-packaged, pre-planned program for their children. We'll always have some of that, especially for the smaller ages. But I think as the kids get older and they show a lot more maturity and ability to choose and select and determine their own time, this will become an invaluable program as far as I'm concerned.
So what do you see in the near future for the city of Kitchener in particular, and what problems do you perchance foresee for that?
I think the immediate challenge for all of us is to rethink what we've been doing in playgrounds for the last 80 years.
Right.
We've been doing it a long time, and we haven't changed an awful lot. We've gotten better, I think, but I don't think we've changed the overall structure. And now out of the blue comes something completely different, requiring a completely different train of thought than we've ever been used to. It's a non-organized, organized setting, and it's kind of tough to get used to. So we're all going to have to rethink it. We're going to have to, I think, express this kind of satisfactory program to the decision makers at a political level who ultimately determine what kind of budgets we use, what kind of resources we have, right down through to the person who cuts the grass in the park and can perhaps help out in maintaining some kind of structures, whatever we do have. So I think everybody's going to have to rethink. Short range, immediate, we're going to have to show everybody this thing. You've seen it, I've seen it, the kids are in there every day, but I don't think the community at large is really aware of what you've accomplished with your neighborhood program. And the first thing is going to have to be to saturate the community, both people, kids, politicians, decision makers, as to what we've got going, and allow them to convince themselves that it's workable. That's the short-range concern. The long-range concern is, it's a dollar one, resources. Where do we get the boards, or what kind of structures do we use to encase it? Where do we scrounge the various materials? Those, I think, are the long-range considerations. I don't think any of them are insurmountable.
Sounds good. Thanks, Wayne.
You're welcome.